What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JuiceBox presented by Lock City. It's Munz here, and before we dive in, I just wanted to remind everyone of the sale we have going on. It's 70% off your first 3 months of Lock City, which is applicable to our weekly and monthly subscription packages. All you have to do is use code SPRINGFEVER at checkout to activate the discount. I also want to briefly mention that if you want some of the best odds in the industry, then you're going to want to head to thunderpick.io. You can also use our promo link by going to tinyurl.com/lcthunder to get a 100% deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $600. Thunderpick accepts most major cryptocurrencies for deposits, but you can now also deposit using a credit card or a Visa debit. And yes, you heard that right, a sign-up bonus of up to $600 on your first deposit when using our promo link tinyurl.com/lcthunder. All right. That's enough promo from me. Time to get into these fights. As always, I got my good friend Wighty with me. Wighty, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing very good, bro. I'm really excited to get into these. There's a lot that are kind of 50-50s that I'm kind of antsy about. I really need a win against you next week. We both went 3-2 there last week. I got to reclaim the corner. So excited to get into it and excited for Saturday night.
Hey, man, you took that corner from me for quite a while now, so it's only right I'm sticking in there, and hopefully I get to keep it this weekend. All right, so I think we have 6 fights on the main card. It might get reduced down to 5. I know some books had Duyar and Brendson on a prelims, but as you're seeing on the UFC website, we have 6 fights on the main card. So looking into the first one, we have Choi versus Kevin Vallejos. Seung has a record of 11-7-0, and he's 4-6 in the UFC and is 1-5 in his last 5 fights. He's also coming off a TKO loss in his last fight. I don't think things are looking too good for him, but I don't know. We'll see. Kevin Vallejos has a record of 14-1 as he makes his UFC debut after winning Contender Series. 10 of his 14 wins come from KO or TKO, 2 from decision, 2 from submission. So he's not shy to look for a finish. He's 4-1 in his last 4 fights, and like I said, he's not hesitant to go for a finish. It's probably one of his favorites, as you can tell. 10 wins by knockout or TKO.
Yeah, this one here is a clear Kevin Vallejos for me. Like you said, Vallejos is 14-1. He's got exciting energy. I think he's getting set up for a nice KO win here, probably. His only loss as a pro was a decision to Gene Silva, who the division is absolutely terrified of. And Vallejos' striking is kind of a thing of beauty. I think Seung Choi is super hittable as well. And he's also lost 4 of his last 5 fights. So obviously, this one's probably a super safe parlay piece on the money line, but it does sit around minus 500, not really good value. But you can also get Vallejos first round KO here for plus 200 or 3x your money. Or you could just take Vallejos by KO for 1.61. That's about like minus 180 in American odds. I think that's pretty good value here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. I'm also riding on Kevin for this one. I think this is the UFC making an exit for Seung and a big entrance for Kevin. I do not think this fight is going the distance. You've been talking about the KO odds right there. I highly suggest taking one of those guys because I just do not think this is going for the distance. Seung is coming off a TKO loss in his last fight. I'm sure Kevin Vallejos is really, really excited to get a guy like that up as his first UFC fighter. So yeah, I'm sticking with Kevin Vallejos on this one.
Yep, I like it.
All right. Next up, God, how do you say his name? Duyar.
Yeah.
Go for it. How do you say it?
Nurgozhay. Duyar Nurgozhay and Brendson Ribiero.
Duyar Nurgozhay and Brendson Ribiero. All right. We're going to call him DR from here on out. He's coming into this one with an undefeated 10-0 record as he makes his UFC debut after also winning Contender Series. 6 of his 10 wins come from TKO KO, 2 from submission, the other 2 from decision. Brendson is coming into this one with a record of 16-7-0 with 1 no contest. He's 1-2 in the UFC since joining after winning Contender Series himself. And he is coming off a decision win in his last fight. He's looking for a victory in this one. To possibly take him out of UFC roster removal consideration. I don't know. I think that's something that's weighing heavily on him on this one.
Yeah, this one, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm also really curious to see where you're going to land on this because we have an undefeated near Russian. He's not exactly Russian. He's from Kazakhstan and a Brazilian. So two of your powerhouse picks. I'm curious to see where you land. I think Brendson Ribiero looked good in the Contender Series, and his KO win over Bruno Lopez as an underdog there was nice. But since coming into the UFC, we saw him get obliterated by Mingyang Zhang and then lost the decision to Magomed Gaziazulov there before getting back on track with a close decision over Kyle Mikado. So I don't know. I think Nurgozhay, I had to watch some additional film on him here, but I think he has potential to be maybe a top 15 fighter eventually in the light heavyweight division. The disadvantage I don't like for him is that Ribiero is 7 inches longer,
Yeah.
pause, than Nurgozhay, but I see Nurgozhay winning this fight. And I see him potentially finishing this one early. I will be taking Duyar Nurgozhay here, minus 375 on the money line, or like 1.28 times your money. But this is far from my favorite parlay piece on the card, and I don't think I'm going to use this much in parlays. But for the sake of call the card, Nurgozhay.
Yeah, as you said, Brendson has the advantage in height and reach. He's only 1 year older than DR. It is a tough one, and I don't usually like to go against the Brazilians, especially with everything on the line for Brendson, but he just doesn't seem very impressive to me. I don't know. If he loses this one, we might see one more fight from him in the UFC. As his records are going to go to 1-3 in the UFC if he loses this one. The books are heavily favoring DR, and for good reason, in my opinion. I am also heavily favoring DR. I don't think this one goes for the distance. I think a double chance on DR is most likely your safest bet if you wanted to play it a little bit risky and not go for the money line on it. But yeah, DR double chance KO submission is what I'm thinking.
I like it. He's a thick
Yeah,
boy. If he gets a submission, that'd be nice.
it
That'd be
would. It would.
impressive.
I mean, he's got 2 submission wins, so it's
Yeah, he
possible.
does.
It's
He
possible.
does.
Next up, Damone Blackshear and Cody Gibson, eh? I
Yep.
honestly, I didn't. I had a hard time. I had a hard time in this one. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, let's get into it. Damone the Monster Blackshear is coming into this one with a record of 15-7-1, being 3-3-1 in the UFC and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He has 10 of his wins coming from submission. Cody Gibson is coming into this one with a record of 21-10-0. He's 2-2 in the UFC. He's a pretty well-rounded fighter with decent cardio. He's managed to get majority of his wins from decision, 9 of them to be exact. I don't know. I see this one as a virtually even fight. Blackshear has a slight reach advantage, and he's 7 years younger than Cody Gibson. Blackshear also doesn't do too well going into decision. So if Cody and him are both looking to go to decision, I don't know how that's going to pose up well for Blackshear unless he just absolutely pieces him up. Cody also hasn't been finished since 2017, where he was submitted. So that's also something to take into consideration.
Interesting. Yeah, this is another fight. Pretty lopsided odds. I do like Damone Blackshear here at minus 400 on the money line or 1.25. Neither of these fighters have impressive looking records, but I think
No.
Damone Blackshear should be able to get the win. Cody Gibson is 5'10. I think he's used to using his height to his advantage. Well, so is Blackshear at bantamweight. They're tall bantamweights.
Yeah.
He's coming off of 2 wins following 2 losses. None of these fighters have been anywhere near the same height as Blackshear. And I think Blackshear is a little bit more of a threat, not necessarily in terms of ability than all 4 of those fighters, but in terms of having an equal height and then also having, I think he's probably better at most things that Cody Gibson can do. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
Gibson's 37 years old, and although he still looks good, I think that's always a question mark you have to consider when you're fighting somebody 7 years younger than you. And this is another one. I'm not going to rush to put it in a bunch of parlays, but for the sake of call the card, this one's going to be Damone Blackshear.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that one. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like it. Three for three.
I'm sitting with Damon on this one as well. He's 7 years younger. Yeah, we're 3 for 3 right now. Cody's been like I think he is coming off a win in his last one, but his most recent wins have been against fighters his own age or around his own age. It's been a minute
Yep.
since he's fought someone who has such a big discrepancy. I think that alone is the biggest factor in this one. I'm also on Damone, like I said, at least 5 times there. All right. Next up, we got a fighter that's close to my heart here against another fighter. We got Alexander Hernandez versus my man Kurt Holobaugh. So Alexander Hernandez is coming into this one with a record of 15-8-0, 7-7 in the UFC since joining in 2018. And he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, and he's coming off a decision win in his last. Kurt, my guy, is coming into this one with a record of 21-6-0 with 1 no contest. He is 2-4 in the UFC, but he's 2-1 in his recent comeback in the UFC after his appearance on The Ultimate Fighter a couple of years ago. This guy stole my heart back then. I wasn't really a huge fan of him when he went 0-3 in his first UFC appearances, but ever since seeing him on Tough and coming back into the promotion, he's got my heart.
Yeah, it looks like this one's feature fight of the night now, which is awesome. I think this is going to be a really good one. We're in for an absolute banger here, and probably the one that I'm looking forward to most from like a fan perspective, I would say, out of all of the ones on the main card.
It's up there for sure. I mean, it's definitely up there for me as well. Fight night potential for sure.
Yeah, going to be exciting. Yeah. I think I'm going to be taking Kurt Holobaugh as well on this one. He's won 4 of his last 5. A few of those outside of the UFC, but like overall 4 of his last 5. He's a tough fighter from Louisiana down south. He's a talented striker. He's got a solid to decent ground game. Alexander Hernandez is also tough, but he's lost 3 of his last 5. And I don't really understand why he's the favorite here. I think Holobaugh's got more dog in him. Like you said, we might resonate with him a little bit there from seeing him on Ultimate Fighter, but I would favor him even in the later rounds over Hernandez here. I really like the value with Holobaugh money line at plus 170 or 2.7 times your money. This one's probably as close to even as any fight on the card. I would give it like 60-40 in favor of Holobaugh, but I agree. I think Holobaugh gets it done and really good money line value on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I might be being a little bit biased. We probably should be leaning more towards Alexander. He has the height reach advantage. He's the younger fighter. Kurt has a height advantage on him, but yeah, no, this guy made a rare comeback and had an impressive 2-1 at his age after going 0-3 in his first appearances in the UFC. He got taken out of the roster in 2019. Like, the hunger is strong for this guy. It's strong in that old fart, Kurt. So he is the first dog, as you are, that I am taking tonight. Kurt also loves to go for the finish. He has 7 KOs and 10 submissions, so that's something to take into consideration if you wanted to make it a little bit riskier on your own card, but play it safe. Take the plus odds for Kurt straight up, if anything.
Yep, easy plus odds.
All right, I believe this is the first fight that we differentiate on. Chidi.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Njokuani.
Yeah, there you go. And Elizeu, Zaleski, Dos Santos.
Yep.
Elizeu.
Yeah.
We're gonna call him Eli. So Chidi comes into this one with a record of 24-10-0 with 1 no contest. He is 4-3 in the UFC since winning Contender Series, 2-3 in his last 5, but he's on a 2-fight win streak currently. 14 of his wins come from KO or TKO. Wow. All right. Eli comes into this one being 25-8-1, 10-5-1 in the UFC. He's 3-1-1 in his last 5, coming off a win in his last fight by TKO. This was a little bit ago, from 2016 to 2019. He was on a 7-fight win streak, and he just had to one-up Chidi on here. He has 15 wins coming from KO or TKO. So we got 2 absolute knockout artists on our hands. I think this might take fight of the night if Kurt doesn't.
Yeah, this is going to be a heater. This one I think is the second hardest pick of the night for me, with the previous fight being one of the tougher ones. I think both of these guys are obviously super talented fighters, like you said. We are seeing a significant height advantage for Njokuani, which had me stuck on this one for a little while. Both of these guys are in their late 30s, but they are both looking good. They're looking to both either build or continue win streaks. So optimism for both of them, like you said. Ultimately, I'm going to have to give this one, though, unfortunately, to Elizeu Zaleski. I think because he's won 3 of his last 5, it should have been 4 of his last 5. He got hit with the majority draw against Fakhretdinov there. But he's super active. He fought 4 months ago. He won in dominating fashion. He fought 5 months before that, 7 months prior to that. He's always in fight condition. Whereas I think Njokuani is going to struggle with the cut to 170. He's been bouncing between 185 and 170 for a little bit. He's mentioned in the past he hates the cut to 170. Now here he is again cutting back to 170. So I don't understand that. I'm going to take Elizeu Zaleski here in what should be a entertaining fight for sure. Money line odds are about minus 200 or like 1.53 in decimal odds. But again, a really, really tough one to call. I can definitely see both sides of this.
Yeah, like I said, we have 2 knockout artists on our hands in this co-main event, which should be hella exciting. As you said, he has the height advantage, he also has the read advantage, and he's 2 years younger than his opponent. Eli, he's favored, he's Brazilian, but something just doesn't sit right with me about him. He had a 7-fight win streak in 2016 to 2019. Chidi had his own 7-fight win streak a little bit earlier, 2014 to 2017. But he went on another win streak, 4 fights from 2020 to 2022. I'm taking my second dog of the night. I got Chidi Bang Bang on this. Is this going to be a 5-round fight? Do we know that yet? Or is it 3 rounds?
You know what? I do not know.
If it's a 5-round fight, as it is a co-main, I do think we will end up seeing a finish. If it's a 3-round fight, I think we could still see a finish, but the chances aren't as high. Still high, just not as high. But straight up, Chidi Bang Bang time again is what I'm going with.
Yeah, it is 3 rounds.
It is 3 rounds. I'm still sticking with Chidi Bang Bang.
Sounds good. I got Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos.
Fuck you and Eli. Just kidding. All right. Next up, we got as the main event, Marvin Vettori and Roman Dolidze. So Marvin's coming into this one with a record of 19-7-1. He's 9-5-1 in the UFC, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He was on a nasty 5-win fight streak before losing to Israel Adesanya, and since then he's just gone back and forth, winning and losing. His last fight was a tough decision loss to Jared Cannonier as well. Roman, my guy, is coming into this one with a record of 14-3-0, 8-3-0 in the UFC, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he was on a 7-fight win streak that ultimately got busted in 2021. Went on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC before losing to Marvin Vettori in their first matchup. Now we got a revenge match here.
Yep.
Roman holds a slight edge in reach and height advantage. He's also 5 years younger than Marvin. Marvin did win it in their first fight, as we all know. This is a rematch for the headline of the fight night. We could see Dana White setting up a potential trilogy with these if one of them can manage to make their way up and take the title from DDP or DPP, whatever the fuck his name is, Dricus du Plessis. But that's a long ways down the road. Roman is looking for revenge in this one, and he's looking to climb back up to the ranks where he believes he belongs. All I can say is we're in store for an absolute fucking banger in this one. Absolute banger. And I'm sitting with the dog, Roman Dolidze. He's sitting on a 2-fight win streak. He's been slightly more active. He's going up against a Marvin who's coming off a loss in their last matchup. Since their last matchup, sorry. I just feel like Roman has been the more improved fighter since then. I'm sitting with him.
That's fair. I understand that. This one, I think, was this. I remember like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I had sent this card, or you sent this card to me. And at the time, I said Dolidze and you said Vettori. And now we flipped, I think. Or maybe that was JRE. I sent that too.
Maybe.
But either way, I was on Dolidze previously. I'm flipping. I'm going Vettori here. For this rematch, though, I think we're in for good action. Again, regardless, this will be 3rd fight in a row. That should be a banger. Dolidze has been looking really good recently, like you said. And although he's 36, he's shown good signs of success through his back-to-back wins over Kevin Holland by KO and Anthony Smith, by decision. However, his 2 fights prior to that were losses to Nasruddin Imavov. He fought him well. And then his decision loss the first time that he fought Vettori here. So Vettori's seen him before. Vettori's taken off nearly 2 years, like a year and 8 months or something like that, since suffering his quote unquote freak accident, which has remained undisclosed since it happened. So it must have been something pretty serious that people might be able to target in future fights. But I think, regardless of if it was like a torn tendon or a torn muscle or something as serious, he's young enough that he's probably had time to properly rehab. And back in here with the focus he probably had before he got hurt. He stated in an interview with, I think, Bloody Elbow or some MMA outlet, that he's looking not only to get back in the win column, but to make a run for the title. So I have no doubts about his state of mind going into Saturday night here. I do think he's going to, I think this is going to go decision regardless. Both of these guys are great, though. I'm excited to see how this fight ends up going, but I'm going to side with Vettori on this one.
All right. All right. You just want to go against me. You want to try and take the corner from me, man. That's all it is.
We got 2 split ones. We'll see what happens. We'll probably go 1-on-1 on them like last week.
I think so,
Both end up-
honestly. I do think that might end up happening. They're pretty 50-50 in my honest opinion, despite what the odds are saying.
Yeah, we're both going to go 5-1 with the last 2 split.
That'd be pretty dope. I'm not going to lie. That'd be pretty sick. All right. Anything else you want to add up on here?
Nope, I don't think so. For those of you in the premium tier, obviously keep an eye out for both the UFC best bets sheet as well as the UFC call the card cheat sheet. Stay tuned for my channel for some UFC picks. Once Ramadan's over, Munz will hop back in there as well.
You're damn
for those
right.
of you in yes, sir. For those of you on free tier or on Twitter, following us on Twitter, stay tuned for Free Sheet Friday. We normally drop our call to card on Free Sheet Friday there. But again, it's probably going to be the same picks that we just ran through on the pod today. So you're getting even a little bit of more of an advanced look ahead of Free Sheet Friday there. So feel free to place some of these bets before any of the lines shift. And as always, head over to wap.com/LockCity. Use coupon code SPRINGFEVER and you will get 70% off your first 3 months on either the weekly or the monthly plan.
There we go.
That's all for me.
Don't forget to use the Thunder pick, tinyurl.com/LCThunder to get the best odds in the industry and a 100% deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $600. Good luck on your bets, guys, and stay tuned for the future podcasts. Take care.
Cheers.